Okay, so let's mix up our squad mates here. And I suppose we'll go for both Zaeed. Oops. Both Zaeed and for Kasumi here. And then we don't necessarily need to do this arena. We could go with the wingman. Although I still don't really like... Oh, we need to go... No, we need to go spin zone. And we need it to be... Hold on. Before I forget. Let's deactivate the Metagel. That was surprisingly more of a challenge than I expected. Again, may have just been unfortunate positioning on a few occasions. Unlucky wave spawns and combination of those things. We could go and switch ourselves over to Cerberus. The reason why I'd rather not do that is because of that. Phantoms. They're nasty. And that is actually an enemy that we would probably like to have Liara against to stasis them, to shut them down more quickly and easily. But, I mean, we could do that, but we're just saying we want to go Kasumi and Zaeed. So let's do one more with the Geth. And we'll just see. You know, different arena. We will have the gels back. And totally new team. Totally new team. So the idea this time is that we're going for... There's the thermal clip challenge. We could turn thermal clips off. I suppose that's... Oh, no, but we haven't unlocked this yet. We haven't unlocked this. We haven't unlocked Reapers yet, so that's not possible either. We're going for this one here. The Spin Zone Elite Challenge. Elcos Combine has offered corporate sponsorship. Fighting the Armax Arsenal Arena on Spin Zone versus elite enemies. So we should have Spin Zone. Right? Spin Zone, indeed. And this is Elite. So that works.
Good luck to the competitors.
I think, oh, and do we still have the... Oh, the bench is in here, right. Definitely going to want to switch that up a bit. Because this will, of course, be our first time using both Kasumi and Zaeed. So, Predator and Shuriken, she has SMGs and shotguns, Kasumi does. Or rather, pistols, I should say. So, these are definitely not the weapons we're going to want. I was thinking Kasumi in particular would be great with the Executioner pistol. We could head back to the Normandy and upgrade this, like, once. That, I think, is the only... We might not even be able to afford a single upgrade because we are pretty broke right now. Unless we do some matches and just turn them in for credits. Which is an option. That is an option. But I'm thinking, for the time being, it's probably gonna... We're gonna have to settle a bit. Probably worth just going... I mean, I don't love Scorpion on her, but... Guess we'll take it. Then... The SMG... Also, Hurricane, not perfect for her, because, as we'll see, she actually can deal some pretty significant weapons damage, and the Hurricane is a very, very high damage weapon when used properly. It's just that, for Kasumi in particular, she's going to need a lot of burst damage, like coming out with all the damage really quickly, which is why the Executioner pistol works really well. It shoots once, it shoots really hard, she gets a big damage bonus for that, and then... Wait a little bit of time, do it again. Whereas the Hurricane, not quite as bursty on the damage, like still pumps out tons of damage when you're landing the hits, yes. But part of that is that you have some sustained fire with it. I mean, I say that, but maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm overreacting, and as long as we give her the ability to have longer clips and the increased stability, she'll be fine. I think we're probably going to keep her on the Hurricane rather than going with the Scorpion here. It's probably going to be the plan. Okay, then for Zaeed. For him, the weapons definitely matter. He's snipers and assault rifles. And so for him, we're probably looking at going with the Typhoon. And damage. And... yeah, I think piercing as well. Then for the sniper rifle, I don't think we're going to have him use this quite as much. Oh, also, not Mantis. definitely... I mean, Widow is level 1, so probably not that. But where did you go? Javelin, damage, and when players in multiplayer using it, I think might not always double down on the damage with additional piercing here, because it does already have some built-in piercing. But no, actually, I think we'll probably stick with that. We'll probably stick with that. Okay. So, does that look right to us? I think so. So Zaeed will be packing some pretty big weapons damage. Kasumi actually can as well, just not exactly the perfect weapon setup for her, because the stuff that we have that fits the types of weapons she can use just is not fully upgraded, unfortunately, our preferred weapons. So let's actually, it's been a long time since we saved. Let's just drop a save here. Now let's hop in. So again, we're going for the spin zone on the elite enemies. But before we start up, this is of course our first time using either Zaeed or Kasumi. I feel like we could see way more of Kasumi's face than we could ever see in Mass Effect 2. Is that just me? I feel like we can actually legitimately see Kasumi's face, which was almost never the case in Mass Effect 2. You could basically see her nose, like the end of her nose and below, whereas you can actually see her eyes here. That is definitely a little bit more than we were seeing of Kasumi before. But anyways, let's start with Zaeed. So for him, why don't we begin with, I suppose, the passives, maybe? So it's going to look pretty familiar. 30% weapons damage, 45% sniper rifles damage, 60% assault rifles damage. That's all stuff that we've seen with both Ashley and with Garrus. However, if we're getting really clever, I mean, or it's durability. I think we're taking the weapons damage. That shouldn't come as a surprise. 45% sniper rifles damage is a lot, especially for a weapons-based character like Zaeed. However, I actually think the Typhoon is so good that we might just kind of have Zaeed using the Typhoon, and pretty much the Typhoon exclusively, and not really breaking out the Javelin much, if at all, in which case, if we pass up this 45% sniper rifles damage, we can get 20% power damage, which may not seem like much for a soldier, but it does affect things like concussive shot, disruptor ammo even, and Inferno Grenade. Carter, it actually affects everything else that he has. So it is, surprisingly, a reasonably effective skill for him to take. So it's definitely unconventional. But I actually think we may take power damage here. And then we go assault rifle damage for sure. And we just say, you are going to be a Typhoon person. Then for Inferno Grenade, let's maybe hold off a little bit on that one. That one we may not upgrade fully. Disruptor Ammo. So this one, he has Disruptor Ammo, which is the one that Ashley has, that gives additional shields and barriers damage, which is great against Geth, so love that. And combine that with concussive shot, and he could, if we'd like to, go all the way up to amplification to turn this into a disruptor amplification, giving us additional damage against shields. So that's also tempting. That is something that we've gone for with basically everyone thus far who has had this combo available to them. So we are probably going to go this route here. So for him, let's see. Why don't we start with the disruptor ammo? It's probably more straightforward. So that one, we can go squad, or we can just go for the additional damage here. It's huge damage bonus to shields and barriers, especially if you take this, but I'm thinking we go for the squad bonus because we certainly could use this, and Kasumi actually, as we will soon see, does have an ammo power of her own. However, we'll probably not go the squad route for her. So I think we go squad for Zaeed. And we go either ammo or headshots. I mean, we've said it many times, at least as things currently stand, we don't get additional damage from headshots, not with the Acolyte at least. Zaeed might occasionally shoot people in the head, but he's not necessarily going to make a point of doing it. The extra ammo, maybe, becomes a little more relevant sometimes, because that is going to affect us, but could make a case for, I mean, neither of them are super effective for us, but this does nothing, whereas this does at least a little bit of something. So if we're planning around carrying the Acolyte as our primary weapon most of the time, then this is technically the way to go. Then more damage, 72% to shields and barriers, which is insane. I mean, if we hadn't gone squad, then it would have been even higher than that. But it's either that or it's stun, and I think it is almost certainly going to be the additional damage here. So let's take that. And remember, we're getting this at 50% effectiveness, so we're getting 9% health damage for Shepard, and what, 36% shield and barrier damage, which is still solid. It's not 72%, which is humongous, but it's still solid. Then concussive shot, as we were saying, does work well with this if we go all the way up to amplification. So we can either go force and damage, or we can go radius. Now, I think in the past, for squad mates who have had this combo, we've gone for the force and damage. Just for, well, damage, because damage will be damage, which is nice. However, you could actually make the case for going radius here if you would like to use this as more of a setup skill for combos, because it can detonate, I believe, with the primary target, and then kind of like some of the other, like Incinerate, I think, it primes the primary target, and then it can, or rather, it can detonate the primary target, I should say, and then prime one target in the radius as well. So it is one of few abilities that has the ability to do two things at once. There are some that can do even more than that at once, but it's in somewhat select company there for that reason. It's not crazy or not crazy rare, but if we are running him in a group that has a lot of powers, then that could work really well, especially with tech powers, because this is going to tech prime, or many fire and tech stuff can kind of work in tandem, less so with the biotics. So with Kasumi, I don't think that's going to be well, actually, no, we can make it work with Kasumi. We should still be able to make it work with Kasumi, at least to a certain extent. So yeah, this is definitely the conventional approach. We're taking a few unconventional options here with Zaeed, though. Let's try this. I'm intrigued, because we're mostly going to use this, I think, for combos, less so for the pure damage. But we'll see. So we can go recharge speed, or we can go shatter. Shatter, extra damage against frozen targets. We don't have ways to freeze enemies right now, so we're definitely going to go for the recharge speed. That actually gets it down to 6.25, which is not that bad. Then amplification or shredder, it's going to be amplification. As we're saying, that was kind of the whole point. Then now we only have a few points left, so we can either further upgrade Inferno Grenade, which is primarily a primer for fire combos, or we can go Carnage, which mostly a detonator for fire combos, or tech? I don't remember if we can also set up or detonate tech, but it has a very brief prime for fire as well, but that's hard to set off. Oh, also concussive shot, for what it's worth, when it has amplification, it is one of the only abilities that can actually prime and detonate itself. Might be the only ability that can do that, because probably is because it technically is not only having the usual concussive shot effects, but it's sort of like a separate entity almost. The ammo effect that's built in. So it's like it's priming with the Disruptor Ammo and then detonating that with the concussive shot. I think you do still need to use it twice, but usually that's not going to work. Like if we warp ourselves and then warp the same target again, we're not able to detonate a warp with another warp. Whereas in this case, if you use a single concussive shot, you're sort of like priming it with the ammo, or you can think of it that way. And then if you use the second one, you're detonating it with the concussive shot. So it's kind of rare, possibly unique in that way. But we can do more priming with Inferno Grenade, or we can do more detonating with Carnage. Is basically the way it comes down to. And like I said, surprisingly, despite you would think Zaeed being a pure weapons platform, he actually has a pretty significant number of ways to set up combos, either priming or detonating them. I think we might prioritize the Inferno Grenade, though. And so the radius can help prime more people, obviously, whereas the damage gives us more damage. But I'm actually not sure if this is going to be our primary way, or I'm not sure if this is going to be the big chunky damage that we tend to get from other grenades, because it is damage over time, mind you, not just pure upfront damage. So again, this would be the conventional approach. This would be the unconventional approach. We're kind of just building Zaeed in a very odd, unconventional way, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here. We could go, I mean, maybe we don't get too crazy though. Maybe we still take the damage. We do have enough to go for another one here for either max grenades or even more damage. I mean, the thing is, additional grenades do translate to more damage. Throw more grenades, deal more damage. And so I think that might actually mean we get a little bit more out of it if we go this route. So yeah, and especially if we're less so doing it for the big bursts of damage and more so just to prime as many enemies as possible, then having additional grenades to set up additional times to prime people is probably going to be preferable. So I think we do go for the extra grenades for that reason. Then we can't afford that there, but we can put one more into Carnage. So we can either go radius or we can go damage here. It actually does have a radius by default. I forgot that. But, I mean, yeah. Yeah. Probably just go damage for the sake of damage. I mean, 630 is actually not insignificant. So it can detonate fire, as I was saying. I don't remember if it can detonate tech or not. But that's probably not going to be that much of a factor. It's probably mostly just going to be there for the pure damage, but at 16-second cooldown, probably just not going to want Zaeed to be using Carnage much at all. So we really would have loved if he had one more skill point, then we could have gone into rank 6 on Inferno Grenade, but as we were saying before, squad mates that are only appearing here in the Citadel DLC have one fewer skill point, and that was a difference maker there. Now for Kasumi. Now the reason why Kasumi can work well with Zaeed is because this ability right here, Overload. So this can not only prime, but certainly detonate, in fact, detonate multiple, either fire or tech or cryo explosions in one go. So that's really nice. And that is going to be one of the keys for Kasumi. She also, interestingly, does no longer have the Shadow Strike ability, which was her unique ability in Mass Effect 2 that was so strong. The single strongest single target ability in the entire game, I believe, of Mass Effect 2. And I loved it. Had iframes as well. So she was safe while doing it. Tactical Cloak is conceptually kind of similar, but in practice, much different. Because she does not have iframes, but she does become invisible. She gains a massive damage bonus, though, whenever she uses an ability that breaks her cloak. So you can use one ability while you're cloaked, and then immediately afterward, the cloak will disappear, and you'll be on cooldown. So this is actually the Infiltrator unique ability, and it's interesting to see that Kasumi has it. But that's going to be another focus. Let's start with Overload, though, because I think that is probably going to be something that is going to be, like I said, one of the key factors, at least certainly when we're combining some Kasumi with Zaeed, since Zaeed has numerous ways to both prime and detonate stuff. So as we've said previously, with other people who have Overload, generally you want to find one way to chain and other ways to just increase damage. So we're probably looking to go Chain Overload, and then Neural Shock, and then Shield Damage is generally, I think, the approach that we have decided is our preference here. Don't think there's much to change that this time around. I think we'll probably still go that route. So that way we can hit 2 enemies with 1 skill, and detonate 2 enemies with 1 skill, prime 2 enemies with 1 skill, if we're looking to prime instead, and still solid damage against barriers and shields. So that's Overload. Then the Cloak. So, looking more into the details here. So it has a really long recharge speed, which is interesting, because I believe it still works this way even for squad mates. But if what you do is you activate the Cloak, and then you let this 8-second duration expire, or actually 10.4 second duration expire, then you get the full 16-second recharge time, which is a long time to wait. However, if you break the Cloak early by using, by firing your weapon, using a skill, or using melee, then the Cloak disappears, and the recharge time is significantly less. So, That's the case at least when Shepard slash your player character in multiplayer is using Cloak. I assume that's still the case for Kasumi. So I don't think we need to be too alarmed by that cooldown number there. And most importantly is really the damage bonus. Yes, there's the duration where she can stay hidden, although some enemies, if they see you while you're cloaking, can still track you down. And some enemies can actually see through the cloak altogether, but helps with survivability, helps with being sneaky and deceptive. The big thing is the damage, though. The big thing is just having a universal 50% damage increase, or in this case, 90% damage increase, which is obviously huge and affects everything. So it gives Kasumi a surprising amount of flexibility as well. I think we'll definitely go this route. Then we can go melee damage, 50% while cloaked. Actually, means 90% damage from this, 50% damage from this, putting her at 140% melee damage. That's kind of insane. And in some ways, the way of recreating Shadow Strike, I suppose, because of course, as we were just saying, Shadow Strike doesn't exist in Mass Effect 3, the campaign, but it actually does exist in multiplayer. So it is kind of surprising to see that they just didn't give her that ability. They instead gave her Tactical Cloak, which is similar, but not identical. So it's kind of the closest way to recreate it, I suppose. Otherwise, it's recharge speed, which, as we were just saying, is probably not something we're particularly interested in speccing into, because as long as she's breaking the cloak, should still get a significantly faster recharge time than what we're seeing there. So let's get the melee damage. I'm not sure how much we're really going to want to have her doing melee, but in theory, she is actually perhaps on par with some of the Krogan, which is just insane. We can go bonus power, so that she can use an extra ability while cloaked and still remain hidden. This one's a little bit odd. This means that while you're cloaked, you use the ability and you don't break cloak, but you still have to wait for that ability to cool down before you can use another power again. And the cloak only lasts for 10.4 seconds. So that means, hear me out here, if you cloak, you use an ability, then you better hope that you use that ability almost immediately after cloaking, and you better hope that that cooldown is faster than 10.4 seconds, otherwise you're not getting any benefit at all out of that additional bonus power that you're getting while cloaked. And so this probably tends to work best with when you opt to go with the duration cloak on rank 4, which is pretty unusual because obviously 40% damage is awesome, but there are some niche situations, at least in multiplayer, when you might do that. So if you're not doing that, though, then bonus power is pretty hard to justify. And 40% damage bonus. Again, for 130% damage, universal damage, plus 50% additional damage for melee stuff means what? 180 melee damage is just insane. So you just have to take it. You just have to go that route. No question. So that's that. So that actually makes Kasumi really versatile. She can have tons of weapons damage, since that's 130% weapons damage. She can have... Oh, and I should also note, the damage buff, you get it not only from whatever you're using to break the cloak, but you have it for a second or two after breaking the cloak, which is why you really want to have a big burst of damage as soon as you break the cloak, which is why it does tend to be something that you use on sniper characters, at least when Shepard or a multiplayer character is using this. Obviously, Kasumi can't use sniper rifles, which is why having something like a more heavily upgraded executioner pistol would be a good fit for her. But unfortunately, we have it. It's just only rank 1, so it's probably still not quite worth using, but that is something we might want to invest further in so that she has a better option to use. So that's that, and then it also means, of course, 130% damage for overload, so that would be huge if we use that to break cloak. Then also melee, as we were saying, even bigger multiplier for that. Then armor-piercing ammo. So she does also have access to an ammo type, obviously. We were just saying how we put the squad ammo on Zaeed for Disruptor Ammo. So it doesn't really help us to have 2 people on squad ammo, otherwise they're just going to override each other. Whoever we use last is going to be the one that we keep on everyone. So I'm thinking Kasumi might be another person who goes with the solo ammo here. Either that, or we just don't invest in it very much, and we say, all right, this is one of those abilities that we we don't put that many points in. And that's probably, at least to a certain extent, going to be the case. But let's go with the damage here. And then for her, I mean, you want to get super burst damage, then maybe headshots is the way to go, especially because, yeah, ammo capacity doesn't affect her at all. If we're not going squad, then it's not going to help us, so we might as well get the extra damage from headshots on the rare occasions that she does go that route. Because, yeah, 25% extra damage there. The 38% extra damage to health and armor, and in addition to all those damage buffs from the cloak, means that adds up really quickly. But I think we leave it at that. I think we leave it at 5. Yes, we could get additional damage or additional piercing, but I think we have other skills we'd like to prefer, or like to prioritize over that. Decoy is one that we've seen for Edie. Creates a decoy that has shields and just distracts people, generally speaking. I mean, it's not great or it's not a huge deal to upgrade this. For the most part, it's already doing what it needs to do at a relatively low rank, so I think that one remains unupgraded. And then just put a point into her passives, I suppose, because it looks like we can. So, health and shields, power damage. Power damage would what? Give her more overload? Yeah, tell you what, we might have even preferred to put more into her passive than her ammo. That's what we're missing out on. Weapons damage, tech damage, we would have had to have picked, but would have been kind of nice. Shield recharge or squad bonus for tech power damage or duration, and duration. It's not a huge deal. That is big. Defensively, at least for her. If that was for the whole party, that'd be amazing. But that's a bit of a loss there. Power damage for overload. And actually, this does affect her ammo as well. Or health and shields. What are her health and shields? 650. She's not very tanky. But she does have the cloak. She does have the cloak, which will help her not get hit. So I think we take a little bit of a risk here. Why did I totally just zoned out and thought that said that we only had enough points for one upgrade here. But no, apparently not. We can still upgrade this. I was like, surely I did not botch my math up that much, right? Okay, so yeah, we can go weapons damage or tech damage. Yeah, we're definitely going all the way down on this then. But what is our preference there? Because you could make a case for either one. The number is actually a little bit higher for tech damage for what it's worth. But she only has overload, whereas weapons, you could mix and match the weapon to the situation and potentially make that perhaps a little more effective, a little more versatile. So I think, yeah, it's a matter of personal preference, really. We don't have great weapons for her right now, though. We were saying maybe Executioner Pistol would be the ideal option, but we don't have it right now. So yeah, it really is just overload. Decoy, technically, if we fully upgraded it into Exploding Decoy, then maybe, but no, that's not what we're going to do. So I think we probably take weapons damage still. Long term, I think it's definitely the right answer. Short term, it arguably may or may not be, but we're planning long term then, and we're mixed now, then might as well use long term as the tiebreaker. Then shield recharge or squad bonus for tech damage and duration. I'm not sure how often we're going to have additional tech people in the party with her. Well, I mean, some people to try to combine for tech combos, I suppose, with overload, but for the most part, I think Kasumi's here just to deal damage. Not necessarily combos, but just direct damage. So maybe the recharge is going to be helpful for her, especially because we did not give her the extra survivability here on rank 4, so she is still not exactly the tankiest of characters, so this might be kind of needed in order to make sure that she does not just constantly go down. So yeah, I think we probably take this. And we do actually have enough for one more point into Decoy. And as I said before, the shield's not a huge factor because enemies, for whatever reason, just tend to miss the decoy altogether. So I think the duration is probably more significant, and 25.5 seconds is, that's a pretty long time. It's pretty long. I mean, then again, 19.5 seconds is already a really long time. So maybe you take the shields just because you can. I mean, either one is not super meaningful. I just don't know that 6 additional seconds is gonna matter. Well, I mean, that is a long time. This is a long difference. It's just that 19.5 is already a really long time. I guess you still go duration. Okay. So there we go. Everyone fully spec'd up and ready to go. Zaeed, a little bit unconventional. Despite being a soldier who you would assume would be a pure weapons platform, does still have tons of weapons damage, yes, but has a alarming number of ways to either prime or detonate abilities of the fire and tech variety. Kasumi less so on the combo side of things, but does have just a ton of damage that works in a whole variety of situations, primarily, of course, coming from her tactical cloak, which, I mean, technically speaking, is giving her the most damage for melee. So you theoretically could make a point of giving her some kind of, like, the pistol melee stunner to just go all in on that melee damage. I am a little concerned about going that route with her on higher difficulties, because I think we are probably asking for trouble if we go that route, but it is an option. It is theoretically an option. We are just not taking it, or at least not going to lean into that all that much.
Commander Shepard will be fighting tonight on behalf of Elcock Combine.
New arena. And Geth are the opponents, I believe, on elite difficulty. Ooh, it is. It's big, and it is open. There are just so many angles for people to flank us. So let's go first. Zaeed on the ammo. We should actually make sure that...
5, 4, 3.
Do that. Oh, well, activate it. And then have Kasumi override it for herself. Also, I paid zero attention to where the enemies are spawning in. They're spawning in right on top of us. Of course they're spawning in right on top of us. Naturally, they're spawning in right on top of us. Let's run.
Round 1.
To, like, the opposite side of the map. Because that's gonna hurt. Lovely. Just lovely. Catching us a little off guard there, perhaps. So what we can do is we can overload. And we can... Disruptor. Take out some people that way. Ooh, new music here as well. Assuming you're supposed to have your armor piercing ammo on?
Kill streak.
Apparently we have a skill streak. This surprises me a bit. Oh, did I activate Disruptor Ammo when I meant to do Concussive Shot? I probably just did that. Either way,
3.
that will take somebody out. As we also take a missile to the face. Somebody is potentially trying to flank us over to the side there. You guys maybe don't need to be quite that far back. Maybe that's a little bit excessive. So, the Inferno Grenade's not great against armored enemies. Or rather, against shielded enemies. It is great against armored enemies. I would love if you could take that out, though. Thank you. Did you just see that shot? Did you see that? Just casually glances over his shoulder and must have no-scoped rocket launched straight into Kasumi's face and took her out. Alright, so Zaeed, let's have you move up into a little bit of a better position to shoot from. That's kind of aggressive there, but... He's still on cooldown. He's close to getting concussive shot back. And we, of course, would like to get Kasumi back pretty soon as well, but we're working on that. And by that, I mean we probably won't bother.
Kill streak.
Oh, okay. Apparently. Where did it? Zaeed just casually went to the other side of the map? What the heck? Zaeed, what are you doing, man?
End of round 1.
Okay. See if we can grab this bonus. How far away is it? It's kind of far away.
4, 3, 2, 1. Round.
I am not sure if we got that. The enemy spawned over here. And by over here, I mean
2.
over there. Which is, they have the high ground, so obviously they've won. But also, we have at least some cover. Also, that singularity is going to do precisely nothing. That was not intended. So this wave is the one that has the hunters, some of whom are already trying to flank. I can see you. I see you. You can't fool me. Okay, I think that hunter is dead? Question mark. There are some starting to come around the other way, though. Some enemies of some variety. Rocket troopers, actually. Oh, nope, nope. Actually, that's what I meant. Ow. That's a hunter as well. Might even Inferno Grenade that guy. Really want either person to have an anti-shields ability to deal with you. Oh, I keep on overriding Kasumi's armor-piercing ammo when I accidentally use Disruptor Ammo on Zaeed. That's what keeps happening here. Rather than that. Okay, Cloak is down, which means now this Overload does not deal as much damage, unfortunately, actually. But, do that. How are you? Oh, that second hunter? Might be a second hunter. That's also not really the ability that I meant to use, but alas, you are dead now. But I suppose it doesn't matter too much. Okay, Rocket Trooper here is probably causing some issues. There is also still somebody over on this side. Just another Rocket Trooper? Okay. Let's go for the world's craziest arcing warp. How dare you still try to hit me from that angle? How dare you almost succeed? Are you dead? You are not dead? Somehow? You are not dead? Let's not pop out of cover. I don't know if we can get Shockwave to get enough range to take these guys out from here. Oh, Zaeed also is on the Javelin, for what it's worth, when I meant to have him on the Typhoon. So I think we were doing a last-minute shuffle to get the right ammo powers on before the match started. But this, theoretically, is definitely Shockwaveable. Granted, you have shields. It means it's not the most effective thing in the world. But we can definitely do that. And you're the last enemy. And I have gotten you to pay attention by doing that. I'd appreciate if you would actually use Defense Matrix when I tell you that I'm interested in using Defense Matrix. That would be preferable. That would be preferable. Concussive shot actually cannot detonate that. But that can. That was unfortunate timing.
5, 4, 3.
Where are enemies? Right here.
2, 1. Final round.
Now, guys, let's actually chill in this general direction. So this wave is basically everything. Hunters, bombers, rocket troopers, pyros for the first time. Let's have Kasumi Cloak. You still have that on. And then do that. So that should mean way more damage. And then please get rid of Hunter dudes. Zaeed, what did you do? You don't appear to have gotten rid of the Hunter dudes. That set up this guy to also go boom. That's a pyro, who's not technically primable with singularity, but still took care of him. Rocket trooper over there. down. Ooh, close. Was hoping to continue the kill streak there, but I don't think we quite got it. There's a line of enemies just waiting to come through this way. I don't love. Ooh, that hunter actually did manage to hit us. Somehow it is shooting through this cover. It does surprise me a bit. So you immediately become a bit of a problem. How the heck? Oh, for a second there, we had the option to grab one of them. That's a pyro. I don't even see which one the pyro is, but that's a problem. Because that damage will become huge. Fortunately, these guys have not really figured out how to deal with us. That's actually another hunter right on top of us as well. We kind of just need to stay here and hope this pyro doesn't figure out how to flank us until our friends can bail us out a little bit more here. Like that. Excuse me. There we go. There's the grab. That's one kill. We unfortunately cannot grab pyros. They are ungrabbable. And I assure you, this makes me very sad. But it is, unfortunately, the truth. That was a fire explosion. Should have dealt a lot of damage. That is a pyro that has successfully flanked us. That is who and how. I honestly don't know. You, I think. No, it's you. It's you. You're dead? It's just you?
The match is over.
There we go. Not too bad. Few slightly stressful moments where the hunters decided to come up point blank and the pirates decided to come up point blank, and fortunately we had what was required to deal with the problem there, where they just kind of got stuck. We grabbed one of them, waited for our squad mates to bail us out a little bit with their anti-shields abilities, shockwaved a little bit to stagger them, and we made it work. We made it work. What's up, Tactical Rock? How are you?
This match brought to you by
Not necessarily textbook per se, but let's see, that was our highest score thus far. We can't really see our score from this angle, but there it is. Oh, and actually we did it in well under 5 minutes as well. We just had Kasumi went down in wave 1, but wasn't too much of a problem. Outside of that, people remained pretty much fine. Let's take a look at our journal. So that was the Spin Zone Elite Challenge. The match has been completed successfully. Check private messages for a reward. So that's good stuff. We do still need to do a Reaper solo match. And we've not yet unlocked a Reaper, so that's one thing we could consider doing. Similarly, we've not yet unlocked the no thermal clips option, so that's another one we could do. I guess those are the two that we know about at the moment. Why don't we, before we start purchasing stuff though, double check to see if there's any other ones that we've picked up in the meantime.
That match was rigged. What are you talking about? There's no way Barlabon.
Oh, okay, and that's the start of this conversation that we heard previously. So let's see. James is still above us, which honestly is treason, because obviously he's on our team. So I refuse to believe that he has done this. So let's check our messages here. Our love is meant to be. What? From Salora Tehran. You stand floodlit in front of millions, and I in the dark. The screen separates us. But but as your heart hammers mine, echoes it, and we are one. I embrace this brief human moment, as if it were eternity. Your most devoted fan, Salora. That's creepy. That's creepy. I'm doing alright. I'm doing alright. We are doing some Armax Arena matches, and it has been so long since I did this in my original Mass Effect 3 playthrough that I don't remember it very well. And originally, apparently, there was this bug that made it so that even if you were playing on higher difficulties, in the arena it was always capped out at normal difficulty. We're, in theory, playing on Insanity, but I don't know if this is actually Insanity difficulty, the challenge of the enemies in the arena. It doesn't feel like they're significantly weaker than usual, so I feel like it might be. They might have fixed that for Legendary Edition, but I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Please prepare for your matches on the lower level.
So let's see, this is from the Elkos Combine team, the people who were trying to sponsor us. Doxa Teller, Commander, you are the paradigm. I'll get your e-work in the queue. Let's do a face-to-face sometime. How's your schedule looking next year? See, the thing is, like, there's kind of this ongoing war against the Reapers that does kind of occupy all of our time when we're, at least when we're not partaking of these arena matches. Tell you what, don't calm me. I'll calm you. Excuse me. We are totally about to get ghosted. Sincerely, Doxa Teller, Earth Clan Talent Liaison, Elkos Combine, Citadel Sports Division. Okay. So, we get some credits and some reputation, and we were not looking good from a credit standpoint. It's still not great, but we could theoretically make like a single or maybe two weapon upgrades, but not a lot. Not a lot. And I don't think we got anything new on the challenge side of things. So yeah, we're looking for either picking up the thermal clips or picking up Reapers. If we do Reapers, we're doing a solo. So I think we've done so much against shield-centric enemies, especially Geth. I'm thinking we go for the Reaper stuff now. I'm thinking that's what we go for here. So they are a silver prize. Unfortunately, that means this will be all of our rewards going toward unlocking Reapers. But they are generally a better matchup, much better matchup for us as a biotic, because they have very little in the way of shields, and they have a lot more in the way of armor, and that is the type of armor and barriers, the things that we're best at. They did fix it. Most aren't too bad, but a couple of the challenges were painful on Insanity. Yeah, like we ran into a rough spot or two, I'm afraid. Initially, the very first one, I was like, okay, you know, this is probably just a normal difficulty. We'll be fine. We'll just rush straight in. We'll just bombs away, take out all the enemies as quickly as possible. Then, as we started to amp up some of the other challenges, like, okay, hold on. No, I'm not so sure that this is normal difficulty after all. This still feels like these guys are dealing a lot of damage to us. So, yeah, I think that does make sense. I'm not going crazy after all.